pains me to say this, but the Vader is no longer with me. It was a painful thing to do, but for me, I mean, future-wise, like I knew that day was gonna come, that I had to part ways with it. I still have more content that I want to be releasing for the Vader. A lot of write-ups. I have a lot of write-ups that I have to do for my site, so that we can officially close that chapter. And I'll probably do my last video also. And I mean, I knew the day was going to come, but I didn't know it was going to come so soon. But you know, because I did want to get at least like 10K miles out of it, but because of the circumstances, it was just time for me to move on. Because my only options were to either get a 190cc and still be limited, or get a 190cc and make it, I believe, a 212 or 2 something. I believe it's 212 cc head, or you know, it just wasn't really a thing that I wanted to do. I was going to in tandem have this bike or any bigger bike that I was going to get, but I was going to get this and also have the Vader as like a project, but it just wasn't really going to be financially the best thing to do, especially because there's really no value in Chinese bikes. I luckily got something. I didn't get exactly what I wanted out of it, but at least I got something out of it. The only other option was to part it out, but I kind of wanted to give somebody else a running bike. So that's pretty much, you know, my thought process behind that is if I'm going to sell a bike, I want it to be used again. So that new owner is happy actually. They got a good bike, to be honest. A fairly good deal for it. I just wanted to go in the hands of somebody else that is actually going to ride it. Now, the mileage on the bike, off the top of my head, was, I don't know the last 2 digits, but it was at least like 8,600, so 8,600 something, I guess, XX. Almost to 9,000 at least. You know, hopefully it can make it another 2,000 to, you know, make that that goal. Now I'm gonna mostly be making like boot videos. For the Vader, it was kind of limited. I couldn't really like go many places with it. Like this, I could actually take on a highway, and I could actually commute with it. With the Vader, I couldn't really commute with it, mostly because it was loud. Funny story about that. I never really told it, but I was actually riding. I think it was the day I was riding with one of my fellow riders that actually has a Grom. We did a lot of crazy stuff that day. I don't want to go too much into details. Maybe later on I can go into details, but yeah, we did a lot of crazy stuff that day, and I believe my muffler had came off, and I took it off, and then I put it back on, but it wasn't really secured. So it's somewhere, and on a highway, I believe, because I had to go on a highway because I got lost. So I had to go on a highway that was, I think, was like 55 or something like that. And I pretty much just booked it. I was wide open throttle. I was probably bouncing. I wasn't bouncing off the rev limiter, but I was like around maybe like 6K-ish, which is pretty high for that bike. And I was just booking it. I was hauling ass down this highway that I wasn't supposed to be on. And I had got off. I made it home safe, but by the time I got off or whatever, the muffler was gone. I had no idea it even fell off, if it hit somebody else's car, or I don't even have no recall of it even falling off or whatever. But I know it was on that highway. Overall, like when I got rid of the bike, there was really no issues for the most part. Nothing. I had changed a lot of stuff. They got brand new brake pads in the rear. They might have to get rotors, because those rotors have like a lot of hot spots on them. But for the most part, it's pretty much technically sound bike. It pained me to get rid of it, but like I said before, you know, heading more into the future, I do a lot of riding because I made I made a lot of miles. I've gotten a lot of miles out of that bike. So you know, even now, it kind of is, you know, a painful thing to do or whatever, or a thing I did. I didn't do it, but I've already done it. But yeah. So mostly, like I was getting back to this, I'm not doing too much modding because for the most part, the bike pretty much has everything within my needs for now. One of the main things that I really wanted to do with my bikes is go on the highway, and the Vader just couldn't do it. So even with this bike, it's kind of, most people would say, oh, it's underpowered, but I'm gonna tell you, like, this bike is a lot of fun. It's not a normal 300cc bike. It's pretty much technically a 400cc, especially when you compare it to a Z400. We're talking about maybe a horsepower difference. At least for this model, it's only like a horsepower difference. So yeah, it's enough power for the highway. So far, I've only gotten it up to about 80, and that's not even like wide open throttle because it gets scary because this thing can rev out to 9,000 K. Well, 9K. Well, 9,000 RPM, or 9K rather, for sure. But, and it gets scary around that. For a bike of this size and weight to go that fast, especially on the highway, which is crazy. There's still like some buzzing and stuff because of high RPMs, but it's very comfortable for the most part. A lot of people complain about the seat. But for me, I'm coming from a Vader, so I've gotten it real bad with the buzzing. When I transition to this, the buzzing is like comfortable, like I can deal with it. I guess, some people that are accustomed to actual, bikes or whatever, I should say the term actual bike, but I should say a name brand bike rather. They're not used to the buzzing that this thing does, but this is very comfortable from where I was transitioning from. EFI, I've been riding it in the cold weather. I don't have to worry about car tuning and stuff like that, even though I did not do much car tuning on my Vader. But that's something good to have. It has a slipper clutch. I guess if I take it to the track, that would be a good thing. But for me, with shifting, I don't really. I guess if you're a new rider, it will help you. If you miss a shift or something like that, it will actually help. Because one time I did that, I downshift by accident, and it was smooth. Like it was no kind of, feedback or anything that put you in trouble or anything. It's got the radiator too, so it's liquid cool. Still single, but it's a vertical single. And I will say that this engine right here is probably one of the best KTM engines that they have. Because they use this engine right here for many of the other applications, like the twin brother, the RC 390, pretty much use the same engine. Pretty much they're both the same bike. It's just the ergonomics is different. I have a 290, not 290. I believe a 250 version of this and a 125 version of this in those countries like the Philippines, India. I remember just recently a guy thought that this was a 250 because he's from India, and he said that he had one of these. So yeah, I guess they're very popular in India because a lot of Indian people that I meet or whatever, like they just love the bike for some odd reason. I don't know. Maybe in their country is a lot of them. Well, I mean they're built. The factory that builds them is in India. I love the bike. I do a lot of riding, so the break-in period is pretty much done. All I gotta do is really change the oil, and I got like a whole kit You know, it's a kit that I bought. You can go to KTM or whatever, you know, and ask for, you know, the oil change kit. It'll be the filters and, you know, the gaskets and whatever you need. I mean, I don't want to go too much in depth. This is a 2019 model. So far I've gotten, I believe, we can check real quick. Yeah, we got 7 or 8 miles on it. I don't want to go too much into it because there's like a lot of videos out there to, you know, I'll just like talk about it or whatever. This was actually like planned, this was planned out. All of this right here was planned out. It kind of just happened one day, you know, by shopping or whatever, but this was, you know, planned out for years. Like, I wanted this bike for years. Like, the first model that came out, I think it was a 16 model. I'm glad I didn't get that one. But this right here is, if you're going to get the Duke, this model right here is probably like the best out of it because they redesigned a lot of stuff, and they also, I believe, we'll see, crossing fingers, that they fix the issue with the valves going out of spec as quickly as possible. But you know, we'll see, crossing fingers. Hopefully they fix that, because that was an issue with a lot of the old, you know, the older generations. I think they revised it around like 18, 19-ish. So we'll see. We'll see, crossing fingers. Hopefully, because that's a pain in the ass to do on this bike. I think you gotta take the tank off too. I've seen a video on it and I was like, that's a pain in the ass to do. You gotta take out a lot of shit because of how the bike is. Mostly, I think you could do it on the other side. But yeah, you gotta take the seat off. I believe you gotta take the tank off. I don't know. I mean, I'm a long way from that. Well, nah, not really, because I already got 700 miles on it. And yeah, and also a thing about the mileage, if you get this, that's if it's not over 600 miles, the bike is going to be limited to a certain RPM range. Because really around like 600, you're supposed to do the service. I haven't done the service yet. What I did was I did like a bypass just so that I can, because I got the stuff to change it. I'm going to change it soon. But I did like a reset early. You're not supposed to do that, but I just did it just to see if my RPM range would change. But yeah, it does. So that's just a factory thing. You can't bypass that. The only way you'll bypass that is you have to have the whatever mileage it is. Mine was 600 miles, and I think that's like 1,000 kilometers or something like that. The reason why I got that so quick is because I was on the highway. So, so mostly that's like highway miles. I didn't do a lot of back roads and stuff. Like with the Vader or whatever, pretty much the majority of those miles was like back road type stuff. Or me taking like the long way around and such. Now I don't really have to do that. The other bike that I was going to get was the Hyosung and the KPR. And the reason why I didn't get those two bikes was mainly because of displacement. So the other bike that I was looking at was the Venom GTO. That was a little bit too pricey. Because if I was going to have, like, you know, shell out $3 grand or whatever on the table, these like start at like, well, this one started at that, and then they add all the other fees and such like that. So this bike, you know, if you have that much cash on hand or whatever, you can pretty much put it towards this. So you're getting bigger displacement and a better quality bike, because the bike is really like. Is really well built. I mean, for the most part, it feels like, for me, I'm about 5'7". I'm billed as 5'8", but I guess, you know, you could say 5'7". For the most part, with me on a bike, I believe this bike weighs probably like 300 pounds or around that, I believe. It's not very intimidating for the most part, but I weigh nothing. So this bike, sometimes if I really wanted it to, you know, if I dump the clutch or whatever, that wheel might come up. So that just gives you the an example of you know, the power of this bike. And it's very quick. 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, which is pretty decent. I can do a quarter mile in about 14 seconds. That's pretty much like an SI or something. So it's decent. It's decent. It ain't the fastest in the world because, you know, you get 600, they could probably do like what, like 3 seconds. For 0 to 60 or something like that. I don't know. I've been told some, you know, jigsters can go, you know, 180. It's a debate. It's a debate. I'm not in that because I don't have one, so I don't really know. But some guys say the jigsters can go 180 miles an hour, so I don't know. But yeah, for the most part, this is the future of Yashiroku brand. I still got a lot of like Vader stuff to release. I just haven't been releasing it. Like I said, a lot of stuff has happened. Even this right here, like I've almost had this bike for like a month now. It's got a little dust or whatever, little, you know, because this is like my commuter bike. It's my commuter slash my play bike. Because it was one time when I just used this bike for everything. I didn't even use my car. So that's Yashiroku.